Okay, so it's all dried off, and it's actually a couple of days later because, well, life happened. And now that I'm sitting here looking at this, I feel like I just want a bit more detail, a bit more interest going on in these little heart shapes here. So I'm going to use a spray, an ink spray, just to bring in a little bit more detail. So I've got this is a purchased stencil. It's a bit flatter. It's going to sit closer to the page and work a little bit more effectively than the gas bottle plastic that I used earlier to try and do this with. So I'm going to do that. And can you see how, so you've got two layers, so you're going to get an interesting, well, hopefully an interesting effect. Let's see what happens. It's really good when you're using a spray to just hold your stencil down with something, so just to try and, you know, keep it close to the page. I'm not looking necessarily for a super crisp stencil here. I'm looking for a bit of a pattern, a bit of, you know, just a bit, another layer, as we talked about before. So hopefully, sometimes these, yeah, and of course, that's what happens. Sometimes these jam up and you need to unscrew them and poke through with a pin and just loosen them up. But I'll just grab another bottle because this will be quicker. Funky fuchsia, that's got to be fun. That actually sounds like a caramel. Ah, there we go. And that's probably all I'm going to do, just a little spray. And before I lift this up, just going to do this, which will pick up a little bit of the excess of that. There you go. See how that's sort of a little bit funky and fun? We will come in here. I'll just do it in a couple more spots on this, and just for, so you can see. There we go. I don't want it to be overpowering, so I'm going to wipe it up and just take out the excess there. Okay, so now that's made it look a lot like the page around it. Can you see how it's all a bit purple, it's all a bit the same? So what we can do then is grab a white spray. This is a, you know, this is a step you don't have to take. If you don't have sprays, you can do more paint. If you come back and you're still not happy with, you know, and you still want a little bit more differential in it, just keep swapping out your stencil, your mask and your stencil with paint, and until you sort of build up a layer. This particular ink spray, it's the only one in this range that has it. It's a white one and it's got a little bearing in it, so you've actually got to shake it until the ball, there we go. You could hear my bangle rattling, but there. So you need to give it a good shake. So what we'll do now is use our cutout pieces as a mask. So we'll spray over those, and hopefully there will be some magic taking place in just a second. Okay, done. Now, more baby wipes, because they're awesome, as we've already discussed. There we go. See how that completely changes what was going on the page? And you could do that with a paintbrush or a toothbrush and paint and spatter it on, like we would have done in kindy or preschool when we were little kids. My husband actually calls this kindergarten. He comes in and says, "Oh, what sort of kindergarten thing are you doing today?" This, you know, it's preschool. He thinks he's jealous, really. Looks like fun, and he's not getting to have any. But yeah, it's a bit like kindy, a bit like play school. Now I'm just looking at this and trying to decide if I want it that white or if I want to lift off some of that, and I don't think I do. I think I quite like it like that, so I'm going to let it dry and we'll be back in a sec. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do here. I never am. It unfolds as I go. But the very first thing that I want to do here is really define these heart shapes a bit, because that's sort of what this was all about. So this is a Chinograph pencil. It's actually a Chinograph marker, they call it. It's a very waxy, it's almost like a crayon. It'll write on just about anything, and it's like all-wheel drive. It'll go over bumps, and if you've got a lot of collage or you've put a lot of stuff on your page, this will write over anything. It's also a little bit water resistant, I suppose. So if you come back in with paint over the top of it or anything over the top, it will resist the paint a little bit. So if you're using something like that, don't use it in a bottom layer that you may want to cover up. Okay, so I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to talk while I do this because I'll end up with something very strange looking. I might yabber a little bit, but I'll probably be talking to myself more than to you guys. So there you go, heart one. I'm putting a bit of angular line into these very curvy, swirly hearts because it's just what I feel like doing. And this is where you can just let yourself get a little bit lost in just having some fun. You can really scribble. And don't worry if you don't go over the lines or go out of the lines or stay in the lines. None of this really matters. I like when I've done something like that to put a little bit of shadow in behind, behind these people's, those sort of shapes, to make them just pop up a little bit. You could do that with coloured pencil. Could do it with your China pencil. What do I want to do this with? Let's see if I can, yeah, look, and you can blend this with your finger to some extent. It's not as good for that blending as maybe something like a charcoal, but charcoal is super messy, so it's a trade-off, isn't it? When you're doing something like this and thinking I'm going to add a little bit of shadowing, think about where your light source would be coming from. So I'm just going to assume that, not that this is a realistic thing in any way, but assume your light source might be coming from this way, so your shadows are going to fall that way. That's what I'm kind of working on there. I'm not really sure that I'm thinking that that's shadowy enough. Yeah, maybe we just need a bit more of that in there. And bring it out a bit, muck about. Get a little bit down in here. And if I was doing this all by myself and there was only the birds and me and I was lost in my own little thought, I'd be sort of, I don't know, just letting my mind wander. Just let yourself get lost in just the enjoyment of making some marks and playing with some colour and seeing what happens. Try very hard not to be hating on yourself and going, oh, that's crap, because we all do from time to time. And one thing, if there was one piece of advice I could say or give you that might be helpful or useful, it would be that everything has an ugly stage. And it'll be at a different point for everything you ever do. It won't And maybe you won't have an ugly stage. You might be really lucky and avoid the ugly stage altogether. But my experience is that most things go through an ugly phase. So don't beat yourself up when that happens. Just know it's part of the process and keep going. Because when the beauty of the ugly phase is there's really not much you can do to make it worse. So you think, well, you lose a little bit of apprehension because you think, well, I can't possibly make it any worse. It's as ugly as it's going to get. So go through it. I have to tell you, I'm not feeling like this is at an ugly phase right now. But it could get there. Or maybe, I feel like it's close to finished actually, for what I want to do today. So yeah, that's good. I could come into that with some coloured pencil, maybe. What's this one? Rouge Toucan. Dear Lord. So you can come in with your pencil, you know, like so, and shade in a little bit. Just to put a little bit of colour in there if you want to. I'm just mucking about. I'm playing. And that's what's fun to do, to just sort of go, well, you know, this is where you discover what your materials will do, what they're capable of, how far you can push them, what they just won't do. So just, yeah, pick up whatever you've got on your bench and have a play with it. That's not doing a whole lot. There's a little bit of colour coming off that. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted a little bit of colour there. Not too much, and it's okay. But just, yeah, muck around, have a play. You can come in with your pencil and pick up parts of your stencil that are sort of showing through or not showing. You can highlight them a bit, bring a bit of detail into those again if you want to. Just be really loose, be really fluid, and play. Just play. I'm trying not to get my arm in the way so you can sort of see what I'm doing there, but I don't know if it's working. Just a few little bits like that. I don't know, maybe we could sort of put in a couple that weren't there already. Not in love with that, but you know, there you go, that's okay, don't have to be. What I want to do, I think, I've got there's just a piece of glass out of an old photo frame. I've put masking tape around the sides, and obviously I'm not very good at cleaning up after myself because I've let that paint dry, but this side's clean, so I'm going to put that there and just squitch out a little bit of yellow paint because I feel like this could use some yellow. I don't know why. Just do what makes you happy. If you think, oh, it needs yellow, go ahead and do it. You don't have to have a reason. It doesn't have to make sense. You just need to just follow your instincts, follow your intuition, and have fun. That's all you are here to do, is have fun and spend some time with your own beautiful, precious self. So you can just do a little bit of those. Don't get too carried away with this. This is, you know, just a couple of little spots here and there. Is one more going to be too much? Let's go way up here. All right, so that's used the cap off one of these spray bottles on the bottom side. You can also flip it and do that if you want to. I'm not sure if this is a good... No, look, I'm going to do this over here for you. I think you can still see this. So you can do that too. So anything you can dip in the paint like that, the end of your pen, a chopstick, a matchstick, your trusty key card or credit card. You can just... I haven't really got... As you can see, there's no secrets when I can't keep it little under my hat when I've been doing any work in here. Not that I'd want to or need to, but you know, sometimes I go to the post office looking like this, and I think sometimes they think I need attention, but that's okay. So you can make marks like that too, and in fact, let's have some of them here. I'm not really sure. And even when they're not much of a mark, they're kind of fun. So just play. That's what I really want to tell you, is just play. Where? What now? And you can even pop a little bit, just little spots of that colour in there too, if you want to. I've gone quiet, I know, I'm sorry, I'm kind of thinking. I can't think and talk at the same time. I can't multitask. Okay, I racked off for a second there. I just went to get a bit of sheet music. I am not above tearing up old books, old sheet music to incorporate into these things. Some people find this very traumatic and stressful. My view on it is, you know, the idea of tearing up an old book. My view is, if it was in the second-hand store and had been abandoned by whoever owned it and is sitting there languishing, gathering dust, and I take it and tear it up and give it new life and make fresh art, I kind of feel like that's not a bad thing to be doing in the world. Others disagree. But so if this stresses you beyond measure, I apologise. However, I'm going to do it anyway. This was sitting on the top of my pile, and it just happens that, well, Silent Night, we've got mother and child, and given where our beginning origins for this were, I kind of like that. So I'm just going to roughly tear a heart shape. I think this is where I'm going with this. You can never be sure. I think I'll roughly tear the words out, and then I'll attempt to roughly tear the shape. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect, which is good, because I'm not, and neither are any of us. Mother and child. I'm sorry, I'm a bit yammery here. Is that close enough? I think that will do. Now you watched me do that and thought I knew exactly what I was going to do with it, didn't you? No, I don't. I'm making it up as I go. And I'm not entirely sure. Maybe, perhaps right there. I'd love to be able to do a poll now and just say, type in where you like it best, because I'm not entirely sure. I think there. I think that's where it's going. Okay, so we talked about matte medium, matte varnish. This is what you want to use, or something like this. You can use any sort of glue. I mean, let's be real, glue is glue. However, in a journal, if you want to work over the top of it, something with a matte finish makes it easier for you to come in and write or draw or paint over the top of it, and you don't get that shiny bit that you would get if you used other glues. And I'll just go out of the lid here, and I can just paint it on the back here. Ooh, goodness. And it doesn't matter if I get a bit over on this page, because it's matte finish and it doesn't matter. It'll just be a little bit of a different texture spot when I get to that page. So paint the back pretty well because you want it to stick. You don't want it lifting up tomorrow. Pick it, flip it, pop it, and then give it sort of almost embedded in there. Now, depending on what you've already put on the page, you might pick up, see how I'm picking up a little bit of pink there? I'm good with that. That sort of works for my purposes here. It'll pick up that ink, and I'm happy with that. That incorporates it into the page a little better, makes it look a little bit more like it was meant to be there. Okay, mother and child. Of course, we'll need now to let that dry. And while that's drying, I'll think about what else I'm going to do. Okay. I've been faffing about here for a little while, trying to decide what's going to be next. It needs something more, I feel. And I really don't know what to do. I'm happy with how it's looking. Got that sort of voice in the head saying, don't do anything, you're going to muck it up. And it's looking really nice. It's death. It's just death. You can't listen to that. So what I'm going to do is, oh, here comes the senile cat again. Poor old fella. What I need to do is just dive in and do something. I might not like what my something does, but I've got to just dive in and do something. So I'm going to get my fountain pen. You can get beautiful different coloured inks and have all kinds of fun with a fountain pen. This is actually a water soluble ink. So anything I do on here, if I bring wet media over the top of it, will run it and smudge it. So I need to think about the impact of that before I use it. I've got these paint over pens, which is like paint in a felt tip marker sort of thing. They're pretty fun. I feel like some turquoise needs to happen in here, and I'm not sure where or how. And very often when I'm not sure where or how or what to do next, I make little scallopy shapes and do odd things, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So I think, here we go. I don't know what's going to happen, as I keep telling you. It's a mystery to me too. This is the point where you can play and you can doodle and you can scratch and scribble and just have some fun. I envision that being sort of some lacy kind of prettiness, but I'm not sure that it is. I might put some little spots in here. I'm going to have to be very careful that I don't put anything wet on this, or it will just smudge and become a little bit of a bit like your mascara ran is what it would end up like on this particular. Whatever pops into my head, really. I'm trying very hard not to think too hard about what I'm doing. I'm actually going to use my turquoise pen in here now, my paint pen. I'll just come over here and just make sure it's running a bit of paint out properly, and it would seem that it is. So I'm just going to, whoa, I missed one. Just going to come into here and just put a little turquoise spot. I feel like it needs a little bit of turquoise to just brighten it up. I don't know. Turquoise, oh, I don't think you can ever go wrong with turquoise myself. I think there's always a spot for turquoise in everything. But I think that just might brighten that up a bit. Okay, yeah, that's actually kind of cool. You can get those little paper punches from you know, the scrapbooking shops. Scrapbooking shops are a very fun place to go and get all kinds of fun things. If you really get into this and you want to get, you can get stickers and cutouts and rubber stamps and all sorts of fun things. Oh, I cut out some little pieces of, oh goodness, here we go. Oh, and he's broken off, look at that. Maybe he's got a sister who won't be broken, and maybe the broken off piece is okay too. That's always another thing. Maybe when you are creating your pieces, if you've got if you put anything on the page, do it in odd numbers. Odd numbers are almost always more pleasing to the eye than an even number of objects or pieces. So 3 of those, there's 3 hearts on the page. I think you'll, okay, 3 little ones of those. I quite like that. Yeah, that's working. We can do that. We might, I might glue them down before I get much further. Give that a shake. I might not say too much now. I don't. This part of the process, there's not much I can tell you. It's show you and, oh bugger. Yeah, it's show you and yeah, this is the bit where I kind of get in my own head and yeah, have a bit of, yeah, get off with it. If you're using your hole punch and you want to make sure you get a particular word or part or piece or something, you can do that and line it up. Now that's actually not quite going to work, but calm certainly will. And I would love to be a calm mother, and I don't know whether Carmel was a calm mother, but oh, hang on, let me just see. Will that fit if I tilt it a little bit? Oh, maybe if I do that. No, I think the widest part of it is right. Yeah, no, that won't work. Okay, we're going back to calm. Calm's one of those words that yeah, calm's a good word. Okay, got him. Fell out of the way. Where did we go? Here we are. And my medium has buggered off. You can possibly hear a bit of heavy machinery coming. I think that's a tractor. Ah, do you see what I did there? I did not make a plan before I put that down. Oops. Yep, there you go. But that's where it's going. When they dry, I'll come in with a bit of that ink and paint pen again, just around them to tie that all together. I think these should be hanging on strings. So with my paint pen, you could easily do this also with a felt pen, or just, you could try a ballpoint pen. A ballpoint pen will write over that, or a pencil, a coloured pencil would also work. Actually, let's try the coloured pencil. And we'll bring it in, try and make it a bit and Yeah, I don't think I will put the paint pen on. I think the background needs to be fading into the background a bit. It needs to be more subtle, and these little heart shapes need to be what kind of comes up to the foreground and pops. Let's come back with the other one and just blend that in a bit. These are a Prismacolor pencil, so they're a nice soft kind of waxy, and you can blend them together, and you can actually get a there's a blending. If I could find it, I'd show you. Just right now I can't. But there is an actual blending pencil in the range, which is in that thing there somewhere. But it looks like a putty, creamy colour, and you just use it to rub them all together, and you know, you go over the top of it and it all rubs in together, and it's a bit juicy and good. That's enough. I don't think I need any more of that. These are dry enough now that I can come and do something with those. I might just go around these little darlings. You could quite successfully make little paint dots like that by using some paint and the end of a brush. And I'm going to rip this out of here right now and show you that, so that, oh look, it's a brand new tube of paint, which is, it only arrived 10 minutes ago. I'm quite excited to be using these ones. Okay, it's a slightly different colour again, but that's okay. So with the end of your, get a brush with a very fine point. A satay stick would work, okay, so like squazzy. Dip in, and you can add little dots that way. If you want to be making dots and you don't have a little paint pen, you can, well, okay, I now have a turquoise tube. I was going to say turquoise tip, but that seemed inappropriate. Sorry. So that's just for your reference, so you know that you can use the end of your brush. You can make marks with paint a million ways, and maybe I should show you how to do that. A satay stick, so the pointy end in there, and that will be really fun. And we can do tiny dots in the middle of our flower. So see what I mean about just fuddle around, have a bit of fun, play around, just do whatever comes up next. I might even bring some of them in there, just very, very, very subtly. I'm trying to avoid the wet paint. There's another little bit there that was just a little bit like that. Okay. what else do we need here? I think that maybe what I just need now is to just put a little bit of shadow in behind these parts like I did with the bigger hearts. Let me get a dark blue, it's an indigo kind of one. Let's see how that one goes. Okay, just to bring in that same sort of idea of you know, nestling these in the page a bit more and giving them a bit of depth. And so this is my paint Sharpie paint pen. It's a paint marker pen, so sort of not unlike this. This one's a bit more opaque, a bit thicker and heavier. This one goes on and it sort of dries a little bit transparent. And I'm just thinking maybe we'll just do this. I'm again not really sure. Just popping a few things in a few places to see what I end up with. A few spots. Bit of a fan of a few spots, actually. So are you getting the idea? It's just play. Mother and child, love's strongest bond. It's finally come to me what I'm going to put in here, and I'm going to write it, I think, in here. Now, so see, I just belted that out there. And that will sort of simmer away a little bit, and it'll fade into the ink just a bit, so it's not hugely obvious. And if you get your bit of a swirly on, and I'm actually going to get just a random bit of paper if I can find one. No, maybe I'll just go over here. I'm just going to write something again so you can have a look at that. I often will write some words on the top of the page that'll be kind of a bit of a summary or a bit of just something that comes to me. And maybe I want the world to know what it was those words are, and maybe I don't. I know what they are because I wrote them there, but even now it's probably hard to necessarily make out what that is, and that's okay with me. I don't need the words to be obvious. If I want the words to be obvious, I will make them obvious. But often we want to just put something in there that we know about it, and it gives you another detail, another layer of pattern, a bit more movement. So it's good for the visual result. But maybe we don't want to bare our souls quite so obviously. So I've kind of over time just developed a bit of a swirly, curly way of writing. And if I can find a pen, I'll do a bit over here and show you. Yeah, that just will disappear, or it doesn't disappear, but it's hard to read, but it's interesting to look at. I don't want to use a coloured pencil because that will Why not? I don't know. Look, I'm going to go with this one. It's just an ordinary marker with a fine point. So the trick is, and you possibly can't see all of my arm here, but don't be writing, you know, hanging on tight to your pencil and holding on to it way up here. Get really loose. Have a bit of a shake and a stretch, and put your whole shoulder into the motion. And it's going to be a little hard for me to do here because I've got the contraption that the phone's sitting on to film here, and I may bump into it, but let's see how we go. So let's write. We can make it really, just think really curly and swirly and big and loose. So I've got a secret. Now, I don't know whether you caught that or not, but yeah, that's not the best effort ever. I tried to do it a bit too big, but do you get the idea? Just be loose, get right, go from your shoulder, go, yeah, move your whole arm. Don't just move this, is what I'm trying to say. I could maybe just do a little bit of, you know, outlining of some of those things with this white pen. That will just give them a little bit more definition, but not a, you know, not a great lot, because you don't want to overpower this part. I don't know what's, I think got a little, yeah, I don't really feel the need to do that actually. I might even try and just pop that out of there. Yeah. Yeah, and I look at that and go, ooh, yuck, I don't like that. See? You can do it. It can all go to custard that quick. That'll dry down a little bit better, I think. It'll be okay. We could, do we want a bit of this in here maybe? In fact, let's do that. So I'm not sure if you can see, but I'm actually going to put the paint, I'm going to put some dots of paint over those, just to try and knock them back a bit, because I didn't really like what that did. I think it's time that I call this done. Yep, I think we're probably done. We could, you know, pop along a couple of those. You've got to be careful not to go too far with the spots and the dots too, like as with anything. You know, I have a tendency to sort of say if a little bit of something good is good, then a lot must be better. Not necessarily so. I think we can probably call that done. I'm happy with that for now. So that's it. End of lesson 1. We made it. You and me, we made it. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you have so much fun. And I can't wait to see what you come up with when you have a play with the awesome art supplies that you guys are going out and getting your hands on. So loving seeing the little pictures that are popping up. Can't wait to see some more. And that's it. I think I'll be back. I'll be here on the page, but next video in another couple of weeks, maybe in the first week in June, I'm going away teaching a real-time art journaling workshop at the end of May. So I might hop in with the next class early in June. In the meantime, have a wonderful time. Throw your questions at me. Ask me anything you need to know. Tell me what you're discovering, and I'll give you one quick last look at the page. I'll close up in on a couple of things so you can have a bit of a look. But thank you all, and yeah, give me any feedback that you have. I'm interested to hear. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful time.